May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Well, welcome to another edition. Happy Friday. Welcome to another outstanding edition of May the Best Brand Win. I am your host, Scott, and a man who, after 10 weeks of this lockdown nonsense, we're in 10 weeks of this, I say we need to rub some Purell on it and get back in the game. Honestly, it's really been too long, and there's a lot of businesses, particularly here in the great state of California, that need to get going. But anyway, quick shout out before we get going to our show producer Paul B, who is lost somewhere on a deserted island with Skipper and Gilligan and Marianne, Ginger, the whole crew. Really, he's there. He's probably already constructed some sort of radio or talking device out of a coconut and some vines and some wires that he found laying around anywhere. But good for you, Paul B. That's what I say. I mean, just because you're out of contact doesn't mean that we're not thinking about you and wishing you were back on the show. So maybe someday we'll actually be able to do this show with a little more interaction from the booth. It'll be fun. But in the meantime, hey, the show must go on. That's what I say. So who am I? What do I do? And how do you reach me? I'm Scott. I run a public relations company called Robertson Communications. And I help entrepreneurs and small businesses tell better stories, do a better job with content marketing, do a better job with public relations, do a better job with all the things in the marketing communications rainbow. I'm an expert on just about everything that you can name in the marketing communications side of things. And I try to bring that expertise right back to you guys in the form of this show. So that's what hopefully we're going to do today, make it a little educational and hopefully fun as well. I'm also a certified story brand guide now. Donald Miller, the author of Building a Story Brand and Marketing Made Simple. I'm part of his program. I really believe strongly in the value of having a strong, clear message. As I talk about almost every show, I talk about the importance of having a message. And almost every week I get new prospective clients who come to me and they say, well, marketing's not working. I wonder what's wrong. And I'm like, your message sucks. And they're like, well, what? I mean, what do you mean? I mean, it sucks. It's all about you. It's not about the audience. And that's why it sucks. And that's why it doesn't work. Just that's how you do it. But as a story brand guide, I can help companies make much better brand stories, do website wireframes, create content marketing, sales collateral, all that kind of fun stuff. For NP and of course PR falls in that as well. But you guys are super smart because you have tuned into episode 158 of this program, and I call it 3 big ways that social media scares us. Social media, pretty scary. Most of the real danger of COVID-19 is fear. So much fear. Fear is an emotion, and emotions require a stimulus in the human brain. The mass media, have tried their very best to keep us afraid, but we've dealt with the mass media before. We've dealt with them for years. I think that the COVID-19 crisis got all of its fear muscle from social media. I think that social media, we love to like and share and post so much that we kind of end up getting played by our own creation. But fear not, because I am going to show you my top 3 ways that social media scares us. And hopefully by knowing that you smart listeners out there will not get played again. We're also going to dig into who's winning and losing on another fantabulous episode of May the Best Brand Win. And in segment 3, I am going to give you those 3 ways that I think social media scares us. But here in segment 1, I think we'll just talk about kind of how we got here. So let's talk about it. So social media, how it all happened. A lot of people don't know this, even people that are, supposed experts in social media. But social media actually, its genesis comes from a lack of trust. The book Groundswell, which really kind of explained the conditions in the early part of in the early part of 2000s, that really allowed social media to grow came from distrust. It came from a lack of trust. Simultaneously, the book authors will tell you that it came from a lack of trust in three major societal institutions: business, right? Organized religion, and government. All three of those institutions lost trust at the same time and gave rise to a new medium, social media. Something, if you couldn't trust what was going on in business, maybe you could trust your friends and people that you knew and people that, that you would call your friends and that sort of things. And really, it really just grew out of that, It also drove an unprecedented wave of narcissism in this country. And like I said, we're all smart marketers, so we know that human beings are fundamentally most concerned about themselves. That's not a swing at humanity or anything. That's just understanding biology and psychology, right? If you understand those things, you understand that human beings have a survival instinct, which sort of puts a greater emphasis on themselves and the area around them than anything else, right? It's not something that's under control. It's not like, you have, Mother Teresa working down at the, at the shelter and says, well, she never thinks about herself. It's like, yeah, she does. And she doesn't have a choice about it because it's more instinct than anything, honestly. But but social media drove this wave of narcissism, right? A lot of people commented on it as it was happening. Basically we invented social media so that we could kind of stand in the mirror and be told how pretty, how funny, how awesome we were, how awesome our kids are, how awesome our pets are, how awesome that project was, how awesome, because human beings have a tremendous need for validation from other people, right? And so social media really fed that need to be validated for all of us. And it's, we're not going to necessarily get into, social media marketing. I'm driving towards a hoop, towards a point here. So, social media also became quite a news source. The latest Pew research that I saw, I think they said 70% of Americans get their news from social media. And that's fine, right? Your mainstream media, you can subscribe to, you can follow, KTLA, you can follow, NBC Nightly News, MSNBC, CNN, Fox News. You can follow all of these things on social media, and they push, very, very nicely to social media these days, right? Social media, but nothing, I think, solidified social media's place in the world than when the President of the United States of America started to use Twitter as his primary communications method. Not like a team of people off there and saying, like Obama did, and saying, well, what are we going to say on Twitter this week that's going to, play to our base, whatever. Literally, the man, Donald J. Trump, types in his tweets in all caps and everything, and he has a direct line to all of those who follow him through that. And he's said before that he thinks that is a much more it's a much more pure way to get his thoughts. And it scares the living crap out of people because you've never seen any senior executive, much less the President of the United States of America, have that kind of direct conversation with you. It's very, it's very human. He gets angry, he gets sad, he gets mostly angry, and he he insults people. You're not used to seeing the President of the United States do that kind of stuff. A lot of people, ask me, they say, he's a communications, expert. What do you think of that? And I say what I usually say. It works for him. It really works for him. He is not somebody that trusts the national news media, and with good reason. They don't treat the guy very well. They don't cover his news. They say things about him that aren't true. They cover half of his press conferences and not the other half. They do all of these goofy things, right? So I don't blame him. for having that as his primary communication method. You can't blame him at all. So that happened. Then social media grew internationally, right? And it got really big. Hundreds of 172 countries or whatever, have different versions in different language of all the social media outlets that we know. And they have their own social media outlets as well. But like Facebook is in 172 countries. This will become important later in our conversation. It's important that you understand how global social media is and how some forces outside the United States might want to influence things that are going on inside the United States by penetrating our social networks. Okay? That is what happens, by the way. So here we sit today. Social media, has grown from this thing that came from its genesis and a fundamental lack of trust. It grew into this narcissistic, feeder engine for all of us in our narcissism. It became a news source. The president, started to use it as his primary communication method. And then, of course, it grew internationally and became this much bigger thing than just the United States of America. Now, I believe there are 4 factors that led to the COVID-19 situation that we're in today. Number one, there definitely is a virus. There definitely is a coronavirus. It definitely is, tough to kill. It's certainly all those things. There certainly is a virus. Number 2, you have a Republican president in an election year and a large group of his opponents who will literally have proven they will do anything to get rid of him. They will lie. They will bring in the FBI to lie. They will bring in, there is no line. I don't think even murder is a line that they wouldn't cross to get rid of this president. I don't think there's any line that they wouldn't go over. And that includes people at the United Nations. They don't like our president because our president calls them out for who they really are. The World Health Organization, he calls them out for who they are, all the time. So, China certainly doesn't like our president because he actually negotiated with them, and in sort of a humiliating fashion, he actually sold China rice. He had them import rice from us. Now, China is nothing but rice fields, right? So it's so China, importing rice from us means we got you, right? And it was just it was one of those kind of moments, but president has a lot of other opponents, right? The CDC, this Dr. Fauci that's been in 5, he's been in this position for, 5 different administrations, as he's so proud of talking about, and all these kind of things. But all of these organizations share one thing. To me, they share one thing. They share motive. They share motive to get rid of the president of the United States of America. All these people have that same motive, right? And to me, that's really dangerous. That's really dangerous. The fact that you kind of literally have the president, elected by the people, and a lot of, forces that sort of want him out of there, right? For a lot of different reasons. So you have that as your second factor. Number 3, you've got mainstream media, which, fueled a fear narrative. I did an entire show on how not to get played by media wordplay, a couple of weeks ago. Check that out, by the way. People are still getting played out there with that. But, but it's not just news, right? It's news, it's commercials, it's talk shows. It's everywhere. Everybody's talking about the situation. It's a 24/7 fear channel of fear, and you can't escape it no matter where you go. My wife and I, we started watching Lost on DVD because we couldn't watch any more of the commercials. If I hear the sad piano music one more time, I'm going to rip the piano strings off and I'm going to choke the life out of the piano player that's doing it. Honest to God. That's where I am with the whole sad piano music. I want to take the lid of the piano and just smash it down repeatedly on that piano player's fingers until they can't play the piano anymore. And I don't think that I'm alone. I think there are a lot of people that are like, I can't see your somber, we're in this together crap one more time. And we already talked about messaging in a couple of shows back, by the way, about how to move your messaging when people start to dig into message fatigue. Really important. So we have three factors. We got the virus, we got a Republican president in an election year, we got the mainstream media that are pumping a fear narrative, and that's not just news, but it's commercials, it's everything. You can't escape it. And then the fourth thing, social media. Social media also fueled a very powerful fear and anger story, and does to this day, a very divisive and powerful and fear story. I'm not just talking about people's personal feeds where where people argue with each other about whether you should wear masks or not, or they argue with each other about whether you should what states should be open, or should this person be social distancing, or what's going on. All this kind of thing, it's just not, we're used to just kind of look at ourselves and go, hey man, I look really good today, and feed our narcissism. Now it's turned into much more of a platform for argument, for a lot of argument. And I do it too. I got to say, I'm in there, arguing with people, all the time, mainly my part comes from the side of when I see things are happening in social media, I want to get involved because I don't want to see people get played. I don't want to see people, have the wrong information or those kind of things. And when you work in public relations and marketing, man, you can really clearly see the BS, I think, like nobody else can. I have a buddy of mine who works in LA, and we were talking on the phone the other day, and he called me up and he goes, man, there is some serious BS around this thing, right? And I'm like, I know, right? Folks like us just see it. I don't know how to say it other than that. It's just we can kind of see how it's put together. And so I'm in a good position to let people know this isn't exactly what you think it is. This isn't exactly what you're signing on for here. Also, there are groups on Facebook. There's this group I belong to called Reopen California and Reopen OC to try to reopen things. And man, the temperature is rising. There are some people, that have lost their jobs, that have lost their livelihood, that are upset. They're upset at the state government for keeping the country, the economy shut down. Nobody in those groups believes it's about a virus. No one believes it's about health and safety. No one believes any of that bullshit. They all, and I'm one of those people. Believe me, I think we waved bye-bye to health and safety a long time ago in California. We are firmly into how can we screw up November for President Trump land. And you just have to be an idiot if you don't see that. But at this point, you just have to not, be able to put facts together in a logical way. If you don't see that this is a plan now, it's just so obvious. I can't even begin to tell you. And this led to, these four factors, the virus, a Republican president in an election year, mainstream media and commercials with a nonstop 24/7 fear narrative, social media, fear and anger and divisiveness and that kind of thing. It just really led to a perfect storm of crap, which dropped us in this situation that we're in today. I also, probably should tell you that, a lot of social media things that are shared aren't created in this country. And I know that might be a little bit of a shock for some people, but I want you to understand that social media is global. There are firms that work for entities that may not have your best interests in mind in countries, like, the United Arab Emirates, for example, has there've been several posts. Where's one I can think of? The gas pump one. Remember the one that was around and said, oh, this person from a gas pump caught COVID-19 from a gas pump. Well, it's been proven now that post originated from a social media firm in the United Arab Emirates, right? A false name was assigned to it. They had some paid accounts with some American sounding names, Bob Smith, Bob Jones, whatever, Sally Jones, whatever. And then they use those paid accounts, to share the thing about the gas pumps, right? And it's like, well, why would somebody in the United Emirates care so much about the gas pumps? Why indeed? Why would they? I wonder why that would happen. There are forces in this world that don't like the United States very much. If you don't know that, then let me be the first one to tell you. There are countries that are jealous of us. There are countries that are angry at us. There are countries that have been told for generations that we're the devil, the literal devil. We are the devil. And because of that, they fight this way. They do this, who knows why? Some people just, like they said in the Batman movies, it's like some people just want to watch the world burn. They don't have to have a reason. They just want to cause some crap out there, right? And a lot of this social media stuff that everybody's sharing and everything. Another one I saw, and I called some people out on it. It was the one about the Spanish flu in 1918, I think it was. And they said there's a post going around that says that a bunch of people, they had a downturn in the number of Spanish flu cases. They went out, they celebrated in a parade, and all of a sudden the hospitals were flooded with hundreds of thousands of cases of Spanish flu, and millions of people died. None of that's true, right? So, I mean, the numbers of the Spanish flu are true, but they're put together in such a way that is not a complete and accurate depiction of what happened during that situation. Now, if you trace it even further, you can see that post originated in Europe, right? That post originated far outside the United States from a social media firm in Europe, right? And there are people that kind of track these things down, and if you're interested, I could send you some links, but it actually is not that hard to find out where a post originated. But there's a lot of that going on. There's a thing about, courtesy, you don't care about people if you wear a mask or whatever. And that's another post that was created outside the borders of the United States, and it's shared through the means of paid campaigns and paid, and paid accounts and kind of American sounding names and all this kind of things. It's done in that way so that sort of unsuspecting social media users will say, yeah, that enrages me too, and I'll share it. Right? It's like a virus. Honestly, it needs a host. It needs someone dumb enough to share their stuff. And then when that dumb person shares the stuff about the gas pumps or about the Spanish flu and, I could pick, 10 or 15 of them if I wanted to. But when you get people that share that stuff sort of unwillingly, that, or unknowingly, they share it, then you start to have a pretty big problem on your hands. It starts to go, kind of viral, and it starts to scare people, and it starts to play people, right? And then those entities, which are more than likely not in this country, just kind of sit back and laugh and say, look what we got the Americans to do, and that kind of thing. So anyway, I'm going to come back in segment 3, give you 3 ways that social media is scaring us, and we can talk a little bit more about AI and some of the other creepy stuff that goes on. But we're going to come back in segment 2, talk about who's winning and losing. But for now, you're listening to May the Best Brand Win on Intertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. Come on back. We're going to talk about who's winning and losing. Hey, everybody. Happy Friday. You are tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Intertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. And I am Scott, your host. We're having fun talking about social media, 3 big ways that can scare us today. I'm going to give you those in segment 3. But for now, we're going to shift, as we always do, to who's winning and losing this week. So Elon Musk is winning. Elon Musk has been talking about, I want to open up my factory in Alameda, California. And Elon Musk being Elon Musk, right? He just opened it. He just opened it and said, look, if they're going to send the cops for me opening my factory up, then I hope I'm the one that gets arrested, and I'll be out there on the front lines with you. Now I like Elon Musk. I do. I think he is a true visionary. I no doubt about it. I think he does things when other people talk about them. And I like this act. I like the fact that he opened up his business and defied the stupid health orders, which don't make any sense, and just opened his business. So everything is closed down in California except for Tesla's plant. And Elon Musk said, I'm not asking for permission. He said, you either open, I either open my plant or I move my plant. And you can lose all my tax revenue and the coolness of having the Tesla brand in California forever. And the Alameda County health officials just backed down because, they don't want to lose Tesla and that kind of thing. And I think all business owners should just reopen because at this point, it's just stupid. It's really stupid. It's really beyond stupid. I think that all businesses and churches should reopen, should absolutely reopen. There is no reason for anything to be closed. There is no health and safety reason for anything to be closed. You can't show me on data anything more than a virus that has a 99% survival rate where people get sick, and we've always gotten sick and that kind of thing. I think that the 15-day social guidelines back in March probably made sense, but anything at this point here, on May 15th is just a bunch of political crap at this point that, and we can't give it any more validation than that. That's what it is. But Elon Musk is winning and I like what he's doing. So if you're a business, if you're a church in California, I say reopen. My business never closed. But I'm pretty virtual anyway. But I swear to God, if I had employees and I had a big building, I would open up my business. I would open my business and I would say, I'm sorry, I'm from Missouri. You're going to have to show me a problem. And in the data, you can't show me a problem. You really can't. So that's a no. Good job, Elon Musk. Rock it up. Speaking of Facebook, and we're talking about social media today, here's a weird one. There are over 1 million people who are pretending to be ants on Facebook. There's a story about it on NBCnews.com this week. More than they're pretending to be ants in a game. It's like it's a group where they all pretend to be ants in an ant colony, and it's grown from 100,000 members to more than 1.7 million. And the number of people to join keeps rising, right? The members of the ant group post photos and videos about being ants. They live to serve the fictional queen, find her food, such as crumbles, candy, and ice cream. Members write comments like lift, munch, and link as they pretend to be ants. In one post, a group member shared a photo of pink ice cream with ants crawling on top of it, and the poster asked the other members to munch with them and take some of the frosty treat to the queen. More than 18,000 Facebook users responded to the post while pretending to be ants, writing comments like nom, slurp, and lift to the queen. Okay, so the ant group has become so active that Childs, who developed this, is 20 years old, and his team of college-age administrators have set to institute a set of rules to keep the colony stabilized. Some of the rules include always being respectful, always serving the queen, and never discussing politics or human issues. It's just ant issues. We filtered out all the COVID-19 posts, so it's like an escape. Okay. All right. I think you got to put that firmly in the category of whatever floats your weird ass boat. That's fine with, sure, winning. 1.7 million people in your Facebook group is definitely winning, and they're all kind of acting like ants. So, hey, whatever gets you through, I guess, that's what I'll say. But it's weird. I kind of want to go see it. I want to join the group. But then I'm also a little bit afraid that I might enjoy it. And then there I am in the ant colony. And then what am I doing? So I don't know. Let's put that as winning, though. Winning and weird. We're going to need new categories, I think. Well, my favorite football team, the Los Angeles Rams of Los Angeles, unveiled their new long-awaited uniforms to go along with their logo design, which didn't quite work out, to be quite honest. And then LA's got some new threads now. So the LA Rams can't catch a break when it comes to doing this stuff. But I think, here's what I think. I like the new uniforms. I think the new uniforms are cool. They play to the colors of the Los Angeles Rams. I think they look good. Lots of people just hate them. They hate the new horn, that design they created and stuff. Here's what I think. I think the Rams did a really poor job explaining what the hell they were doing. If you look at some of their, remember we talk about how words matter? Even in design, words matter because you have to explain this to the fans. And if you look at all the explanations for what they're doing with the brand of Los Angeles and this kind of stuff, it doesn't ever say football. It doesn't ever say Rams. It doesn't ever say, we're going to knock the crap out of people. It doesn't ever say the kind of things that football fans want to hear from a football team. It says the kind of things that like a makeup company would say about Los Angeles or a fashion company. And I think that, the reason they're getting so much crap from Hall of Fame legends like, Eric Dickerson and everything is because you're not talking about football. Know your market space. You're not cosmetics. You're not a vegan milkshake or any kind of stupid crap like that. You know what you are? You are a football team where guys in their 20s run into other guys in their 20s at high speeds and make, miraculous athletic plays and do all those kind of things. And I think that, the Rams could have served themselves so much better if they weren't talking about waves and the brand of Los Angeles and the sunset and the sun. I mean, remember we always talk about bullshit on this show, right? If you want to read some serious marketing bullshit, go to the Los Angeles Rams website and read what they've said about the brand. Now, if you come out of that understanding that that's a brand for a football team, you're much better than I am. Because I read it and just said, man, that is some real crap right there. That doesn't make any sense at all. And there's a bunch of stories. One of my favorite is why the Rams really they overthought their logo and uniform design so much. All kinds of losing. I think the uniforms are great. I think that the explanation of the branding behind it is really stupid, and they shouldn't have done that. So anyway, we're going to put the Rams in losing. And it pains me to do so because I love the Rams. Well, Clorox is more disinfecting wipes are on the way. The Clorox chairman, Benno Dorera, is leaving no stone unturned in trying to get the retail shelves fully stocked again with the bleach, COVID-19 fighting wipes, and other disinfectant products. If you've been to the store recently, you know that those things are still, a hot item, and because everybody's using too many of them and disinfecting everything. And like many doctors have said, by the way, when you disinfect everything and you don't have any germs in your system, then your immune system weakens. And so this next cold and flu season is going to be a real bear, right? See, I own a really dirty Lhasa Apso dog, and she has bacteria all over her, right? And so if you're snuggling with that dog, you're good. Your immune system is fine because that's a skanky dog. That's a really dirty, bacteria-filled dog. Cute, friendly, nice dog, but really dirty. Smells terrible, awful, all the time, really. So anyway, enough about me and the dog. The Florida governor's winning this week because Florida Governor Ron DeSantis basically said that any professional sports team will be welcome in the state of Florida as the state welcomes back Major League Baseball, NFL football, just trying to after the coronavirus shutdown. Very smart move, right? Because you have Garcetti, the mayor of Los Angeles, and Newsom, our horrific idiot of a governor. Who basically says, there's not going to be football until there's a vaccine, and a vaccine doesn't even prevent anything, moron. It's like, I'm the only one who went to science class, I think, honestly. But, it's like, the vaccine does not stop you from getting the flu. It depends on how it mutates. There could be many, whatever. But, the Florida governor is still winning because he says all teams are welcome. And my Los Angeles Rams, with their new spanking new blue and yellow uniforms, might be flying over to Florida to play. Another thing is they said Nevada's probably going to reopen for sporting events, and it's very likely that the Rams, the Raiders, and the Chargers would all kind of play in that brand new stadium they have in Vegas right off the strip next to Mandalay Bay. Yeah. So anyway, that could happen. Who knows? But Florida governor's winning. All kinds of all the messaging out of the Florida governor's mouth is right on. He's like, we're reopening. We don't care. Let's do this. All kinds of winning coming out of there. And my last one, the Associated Press every once in a while The Associated Press, right? They set the rules, right? They have a style book for all journalists called the Associated Press Style Book. So the AP announced last week that they are going to ditch the term mistress from their vocabulary, noting that the word is archaic and sexist, and basically every critic of the decision hasn't really held back from mocking that decision. Here's what they said. They said, "We now say not to use the archaic and sexist term mistress for a woman in a long-term sexual relationship with and financially supported by a man who is married to someone else. Instead, use an alternative like companion or lover on first reference." The AP Style Book tweeted. Oh, man. Politico columnist Jack Schaefer told the AP to go soak your head. And Tony Bruno responded, "How about a side piece?" He said, "How about we use terms like side piece, kept woman, concubine, shack job, Guma, homewrecker, or Lisa Page for short?" I don't get the last one. So basically, Schaefer said, "A one-night stand might be a lover, but not a mistress. A companion could be any friend. You haven't solved anything here. You've only opened yourself to ridicule." Oh, man, that's interesting. Archaic and sexist. I don't know. Descriptive, clear. I mean, you know what you're talking about when you say that word. Words are designed to be clear, right? If this receiver gets the message the way the sender intended it, then the methodology for using it can be found to be clear and right. So I would say, yeah, whatever. That's what I say. And that's who's winning and losing this week, fun fans. And come on back. I'm going to give you 3 ways, those 3 ways that social media scares us. We'll see you in a few minutes. Thanks. Bye. Hey, happy Friday, everybody. You are tuned. You are so smart. Have I told you that? Have I told you how good you look in those pants? Honestly, you are tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Intertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk, and I am Scott, your host. As always, today we're talking about social media, and we're talking about 3 ways that social media can really just scare the pants off of us. And so let's do that. I'm going to give you 3 ways about it here in good old segment 3. The first one, well, before, just a little bit of a social media primer. Your feed in social media is unique to you, right? I've had people before that think everybody sees the same feed on Facebook or the same feed on Twitter or the same feed on Instagram. Your first rule of social media that you need to understand is that it is unique to you. It was built by you for you. Okay, I'm going to say that again too, just so you know. It was built by you, especially for you. You invited all the people to join it just so you could see their feeds. You invited their friends, in some cases, to see their feeds. You liked different pages and followed different pages so you could see their feeds. And you created a custom news channel that was designed exactly for you. Okay? So one of the first things that you have to understand is that the whole world doesn't see what you see. Just you see what you see. And that's going to become really important as we talk about number 1, artificial intelligence. Social media today is built on an algorithm that has some very sophisticated artificial intelligence built into it. So Facebook's artificial intelligence algorithm is very sophisticated. They own Instagram and WhatsApp, so you can bet your bottom dollar that the same artificial intelligence is in use, right? It learns what you like. You tell it what you like by clicking, I like that, I shared that, I sent that in a messenger app to somebody else, I emojied that, I had a reaction to that kind of thing. It's learning all the time. It's taking in your data. You're feeding it every single day with everything that you do, every photo that you post and what the reactions are. It learns. Every news article that you click on, it learns. Everything that you watch all the way through, it learns. It's designed to learn, and it's been learning from you for years about what you like. And then it feeds you exactly what you like. So here's the dangerous part that not a lot of people know this. If you like a lot of scary, negative news stories about a virus, about death rates of a virus, about virus spreading to children, about a virus spreading to cats, about a virus spreading to this kind of thing, it makes a note in your file and said this person likes information about viruses and about anything COVID-19 related from this particular outlet. We're going to prioritize and we're going to send that to them more often and more, that kind of thing. So what it ends up doing to some people, like if you like everything that Fox News says, that's right, Fox News, yay Fox News, yes, Fox News, I like this on Fox News, I shared this on Fox News, I like this, then pretty soon the world to you is going to be filled with the same kind of keywords that Fox News uses. You're going to have a lot of stories about the flag. You're going to have a lot of stories about, President Obama and what a bad guy he was. You're going to have a lot of stories about freedom of religion and anybody encroaching on the Second Amendment. And you're going to have a lot of stories like that, right? But the reason that you have a lot of stories like that is because you chose it. You did that. You're responsible for the nonstop fear that's being fed to you now because you told it what you like and it responded. And it doesn't mind feeding you, it doesn't get like a reading on your emotional state, and AI doesn't go, well, he's had enough now. So I think that's all we can do. Honestly, I think, he's had enough, and why don't we just let up and send him some rainbows and puppies? They're like, no, how can we push this further? Cause he likes it. She really likes, these kind of stories. And so how do we feed her more of those things? It's learning. It's feeding. Okay. Very dangerous, especially if you don't know that's happening. So I want you to go into your Facebook feed and I want you to look at all those stories. And then I want you to not believe them. I want you to understand that. Also, did you know that Facebook can change the headline on stories based on, what other users who had your same kind of fear profile were scared of and stuff? They can change the headline so they can feed you that headline of that story. Yeah, that's where we're at, folks. Custom headlines designed just to scare the piss out of you on a regular basis that you asked for, without knowing that that's what you were asking for, to be quite honest. If it sounds kind of like a horror movie or like conspiracy theory, it's all true. It's all 100% true. I urge you to go take a look at it. I urge you to test it. You know what was a good test for you? Open up another Facebook account, not yours. Right. And then start liking on some things that you don't like, that you normally wouldn't like. Start doing the opposite reaction that you would normally give to something. And then look at that feed. Does it look like you? It doesn't. Right. It doesn't look like you. It looks like somebody else. It looks like somebody else that has different desires. It has different kind of things. If you know what the algorithm's doing, it's just software. You can play it the way it can play you. Okay? Just so you know. All you have to know is what are the factors that it's using to make its decisions. And then you can impact those decisions, right? It's good to first knowing, as G.I. Joe said, knowing is half the battle, baby. So, if you know the Facebook algorithm, like I said, it's much more sophisticated than you think it is. And it's learning and feeding all the time. That's my first one, right? So 3 ways it scares you is it's packed with AI and it just keeps feeding you nonstop anger and fear stuff. Number 2, the news media have a nonstop fear narrative, right? There are 6 choke points to control the mass media in the United States of America. There were even more layoffs this week at the LA Times, at BuzzFeed, at other people. There are even fewer journalists working than any time in history. It's very, very easy to choke off the news and push to a narrative. All you have to do is take all the employees at a certain outlet and then convince them that your news outlet is on a crusade to do the right thing, say to get rid of the president who is a bad guy. And then people will start to see is, well, I'm not a biased journalist. I'm just doing what needs to be done to create a great, correction in the world, kind of thing, right? We're human beings. We can bullshit each other for. You would be amazed the things that some people believe that believe to be true, that they had. Our eyes don't see; they just kind of project. They don't like see the same truth. They project whatever we want to be true, to be honest. But the second way that social media scares us is it amplifies the mass media and their existing fear narrative. So they've got a fear narrative going, right? They're talking about, oh no, 1,000 new cases. And then they don't share the piece of information that a responsible journalist would say, which is, and 98% of people, those people are going to recover just fine. In a month, we're going to be talking about those people and they're going to be outside playing or whatever the state allows us to do at that point. But, there is a definite fear narrative, right? The patch.com, the local patch stories. I kept wondering why they're pushing such a fear narrative, and every day why my patch thing is included with so many fear stories. And then you look and see who owns them, right? AOL Media owns patch.com. AOL Media is owned by who, sports fans? Who owns AOL Media? Time Warner, right? What else does Time Warner own? CNN. Okay. So, it feeds you the same kind of fear crap and CNN has waved bye-bye to objective journalism a long time ago. They literally came out with a story during the last presidential election and they flat out friggin' endorsed Hillary Clinton for president. At that moment, when you do that, your credibility as a journalist is gone forever at that point. That you just might as well say, look, we're a propaganda machine for the left, and we're going to be that for the remainder, and they are that. They're absolutely that, which is fine because I watch all news outlets and I kind of believe them all at the same level, which means I think that they're all full of crap, and I don't believe anything in the media. Again, it's an occupational hazard of working in PR. Fox News is just as bad as CNN, by the way, just as bad. So they're trying to enrage people and just get people to keep paying attention to your screen, that kind of thing. But this amplification of the mass media and the fear narrative, since 70% of people get their news from social media, then 70% of people get their fear-based news from social media. It's how you can say that. And that's why people are so afraid. And that's why you can't buy toilet paper. You can't buy toilet paper because somebody started posting, there's going to be a quarantine and we're going to be in our homes for months, and which they turned out to be dead on accurate, to be honest. But, and they just pulled out the old doomsday prepper list of all the stuff that you're going to need. Do you have beans? Nobody wants to eat beans. Do you have beans? Do you have toilet paper? Do you have, Clorox wipes? Do you have all this kinds of, and then everybody took the doomsday prepper checklist to Walmart and they cleared out the damn shelves, right? And they're still doing it. It's still going on today. So again, our first two ways that social media scares us is artificial intelligence, not your friend. And not in this case, certainly not your friend. And then number two, we've amplified the mass media and their fear narrative. And then number three, we talked about a little bit in segment one, but there are foreign entities that are creating divisive and very scary posts. And they're doing that to sort of amplify the fear in the United States of America. And they do it in other countries too. But, we're talking about the United States of America, so let's talk about it. So, these foreign entities, are out there. Social media firms in the United Arab Emirates, social media firms in Spain, social media firms in Latin America, social media firms in Australia. You can track these things and you can see what they're doing, and then it's pretty easy to see why they're doing it. I have a rule for you. This is a rule that I use in social media. If you didn't write it or you don't know the person that wrote it, don't share it. Okay, you're probably getting played by somebody in the United Arab Emirates. Okay. If you don't, and I don't care if it locks in with your values 100%, and you're like, I have to share this. If you don't know the person, if you didn't write it yourself and it didn't come out of your brain and your mouth, do not share it. If we all did that, nobody would be wearing gloves at the gas station. Nobody would be sharing all these kind of things. Nobody would be sharing all this misinformation about masks. Nobody would be, I don't know. None of that stuff would be happening. The way to shut down social media is that all of us, everyone within the sound of my voice, start being responsible with your feed. Start paying attention to what you're clicking on. Know what happens when you click on something. Know what's going to come next. Okay? And be ready. And be ready for what happens next. And then make certain that you're not sharing things, with American sounding names attached to it. Or my friend's a nurse and she saw this bull crap. She's not a nurse. That woman doesn't exist. That woman was made up by some dude in Spain. If you don't know the nurse, then don't share it. Because you don't know it could not be a nurse. I see so many of that. One of my first questions back in groups when I get involved is I say, so how do you know this person? And they'll say, oh, well, a friend of mine shared it. Oh, okay. Right. How do they know? Do they know that person? They know who that is? Oh, nobody knows that person. That's not a real person. That's a fake person. That's a whole bunch of bullshit that you just shared there, right there. Huh? Right? Didn't you? Yeah. And then do you wonder why you can't buy toilet paper? Because the reasons you can't buy toilet paper, I want you to find a mirror, and then I want you to turn that mirror towards yourself. You are the reason why you can't buy toilet paper. Your crap scares the crap out of everybody else, and so then you don't have anything to wipe up the crap with. Okay? All right? Let's be a little more responsible. Let's use this. Let's use this just a little bit more when we're sharing social media. All right? And that's for all of us. That's me too. Sometimes I get into it and I'll share something and I'll think, oh man, maybe I don't know that person. That could be a thing, right? That could be a thing, and I'm not necessarily talking about memes, by the way. If you're sharing a meme, that's just kind of funny. Memes are kind of funny and that kind of thing. I mean, like these posts that are designed to sort of, I don't know. There's like patriotic music playing in the background while you're reading them or whatever. It's like, chances are that wasn't written by a real person, or not the person that you think it was written by, and that kind of thing. So again, pay attention to foreign entities creating divisive and scary posts that are designed to scare us. So what are our 3 ways that social media scares us? Number 1, artificial intelligence, right? Number 2, it amplifies the mass media and their existing fear narrative at a high level. And number 3, we have foreign entities out there that are polluting our feeds with a bunch of divisive and scary posts. And then we are idiots because we decide to share their stupid crap with all of our friends. Okay? Don't do that. Don't ever do that again. Hear my voice ringing in your ears while you're getting ready to do that and go, I'm going to resist doing that. And then when you see this in other people's feeds, say, how do you know that person? Do you know that? That's a scary story about them being a nurse on the front lines in New York. How do you know that person? Do you actually know them? Do you know them yourself? Oh, right. It's a friend. And they shared the post, right? Do they know him? Right? Are they know him? And then feel free to use my rule. If you don't know him, if it's not from you, do not post it as a social media post. If we all do that, we're not going to have near as much of a problem when the next pandemic hits. By the way, they're talking about a second wave of COVID-19 coming, right? And, it's okay that this one happened to us, but we need to learn from it. We need to learn from it, right? And what have we learned? We've learned that many of us, the thing that we love, the thing that we used to love about social media can be really dangerous, and it can really infect us in all sorts of crazy ways. I'm hoping now that you're all going to be on alert for this kind of thing, and you can help me educate everybody else about social media, which is a very dangerous two-edged sword. And these seemingly harmless social networks, that were created by, certainly by mankind and created right here in the United States, can be extraordinarily dangerous for us. They created a situation that out of this COVID virus, they created an unprecedented wave of fear that human beings have never felt. I don't think I've ever felt before. And we're all responsible for generating that fear. Well, that's it for me, folks. I'm going to see you next week with another cool broadcast. You guys have a great weekend, and we'll be talking to you soon. Have fun out there. Bye.